was standing in a glass conference room on the 14th floor when my boss announced it. The morning sun cut through the windows, making everything too bright, too exposed. Everyone was there. The entire marketing team, 16 people arranged in careful rows like we were about to witness something important. And we were. Just not what I expected. My boss, Vincent Harper, stood at the head of the table in his expensive suit, the kind that whispered money instead of shouting it. He had that look on his face, the one he wore when he thought he was about to change someone's life. He was right about that. Just not in the way he imagined. My name is Lydia. I am 32 years old, and that Tuesday morning in September, I learned exactly what I was worth to the company I had given 6 years of my life to. Vincent smiled at the room, then cleared his throat. The chatter died instantly. I want to start by thanking everyone for their hard work this quarter, he began. Standard opening. I'd heard it 100 times. But today is special. Today we recognize excellence. My heart started beating faster. I had closed the Meridian account 3 weeks ago. Our biggest client in 2 years. $700,000 in annual revenue. Everyone knew I had done that. Everyone. Vincent's eyes scanned the room. They passed over me like I was furniture. Myra Williams will be stepping into a senior account director role, effective immediately, with a compensation package of $100,000. The room erupted. Applause thundered off the glass walls. People stood up. Someone whistled. I stayed seated. My hands stayed in my lap. My face stayed neutral. But my chest felt like someone had reached inside and squeezed. Myra, 24 years old. Hired 8 months ago. Trained by me. I had given her my client psychology notes, my pitch templates, my entire process for building relationships with difficult accounts. And now she was standing there, blushing and smiling, accepting congratulations like she had earned this. Like she had not spent the last 8 months shadowing my every move and copying my work. Then Vincent said something else. Something that made the room go quiet again. And Lydia will begin transitioning her primary accounts to Myra, starting today. I felt the air leave the room. People stopped clapping. A few heads turned toward me. I did not move. Did not blink. Just sat there with my hands folded, staring at Vincent while my brain tried to process what I had just heard. This was not a promotion for Myra. This was a replacement. After the meeting, I walked back to my desk like nothing had happened. My legs moved on autopilot, carrying me through the open office space while my mind spun in tight circles. I sat down, opened my laptop, stared at my screen. Around me, the office hummed with normal noise. Keyboards clicking, phones ringing, someone laughing near the coffee machine. But inside my head, everything was screaming. I pulled up my email, scrolled through the last 3 months of messages. And there it was. The pattern I had been too busy to notice. Myra CC'd on emails to my clients. Myra invited to my meetings. Myra's name slowly replacing mine on project folders. They had been planning this for months. While I worked late. While I closed deals. While I trained Myra like a good mentor, they were erasing me. I opened a blank document and started typing. Not a resignation letter. Not yet. Just notes. Every time Myra had taken credit for my work. Every time Vincent had dismissed my concerns. Every time I had been told I was being too sensitive, too aggressive, too something. I documented everything. Because I learned a long time ago that the only way to fight people who lie is to have better proof than they do. Myra appeared at my desk an hour later. She looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight from foot to foot like a child about to apologize for breaking something. "Lydia," she said quietly. "Can we talk?" I looked up at her. Smile. The kind of smile that does not reach your eyes. "Of course. Congratulations, by the way." She winced. "I know this is awkward. I just want you to know I did not ask for this." I nodded slowly. "Right. You just happened to be in the right place at the right time." "It is not like that," she said, her voice defensive now. Vincent thought I was ready for more responsibility. He said you had too much on your plate and that I could help lighten the load. I almost laughed. Too much on my plate. I was the one who brought in 60% of our department's revenue. I was the one clients asked for by name. I was the one who stayed until 9 at night making sure pitches were perfect. For sure. I had too much on my plate. What accounts am I transitioning? I asked, my voice flat. Myra pulled out a piece of paper. List. 6 accounts. Including my biggest client, Beacon Industries. The one I had spent 2 years cultivating. The one that trusted me completely. I stared at that list and felt something inside me go very, very cold. That night I went home and did not sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and went through every file, every email, every document I had ever created for the company. And I started copying. Not stealing. Just making sure I had backup copies of my own work. Presentations I had built from scratch. Pitch decks that had won contracts. Client relationship notes that no one else had access to. I saved everything to an external drive. Then I did something else. I opened my contract. The one I signed 6 years ago when I started. And I read it. Every single word. There was a clause buried on page 11. A non-compete agreement that said I could not work for a competitor or solicit clients for 12 months after leaving the company. But there was something else. A clause that said the non-compete was void if I was constructively dismissed. Which, according to the legal definition, meant being forced to resign because working conditions had become intolerable. Like, for example, having your job systematically dismantled and handed to someone else. I called a lawyer the next morning. Her name was Simone Torres. She specialized in employment law. I explained the situation. She listened without interrupting. Then she said 4 words that changed everything. You have a case. The next 2 weeks were strange. I showed up to work every day. Did normal. I started the so-called transition with Myra, walking her through my accounts, introducing her to clients. I was professional, helpful, the perfect team player. But I was also watching and documenting. I noticed that every time I sent an email to a client, Myra sent one right after, subtly undermining what I had said. When I scheduled a call, she would schedule one the next day, as if to check my work. Vincent praised her initiative, called her a fast learner. Never once asked me how I felt about having my job handed to someone else piece by piece. I also noticed something else. Myra was not good at this. She had my scripts, my templates, my notes. But she did not have the instinct. The ability to read a room, to know when to push and when to pull back. Clients were polite to her. But I could tell they were confused. They had built relationships with me. Now they were being told to work with someone new. And they did not like it. Especially Beacon Industries. Especially Marcus Okafor, their CEO. He and I had spent 2 years building trust. He did not trust easily. And he definitely did not trust Myra. 2 weeks after the promotion announcement, I had lunch with Marcus. He suggested it. Said he wanted to catch up. We met at a quiet restaurant downtown. The kind with white tablecloths and servers who knew when to disappear. Marcus was in his 50s, sharp-eyed. The kind of man who had built his company from nothing and could smell dishonesty from a mile away. Lydia, he said after we ordered. What is going on? I took a sip of water. What do you mean? You know what I mean, he replied. Your boss keeps pushing this Myra person on me. Sending her to meetings. Having her follow up on things you and I already discussed. Is there something I should know? Could have lied. Could have played it safe. Instead, I told him the truth. Not all of it. Just enough. They are transitioning my accounts, I said carefully. Myra is taking over as your primary contact. Marcus set down his fork. Did you ask for that? No. Do you want that? I met his eyes. No. He nodded slowly. Then he said something I was not expecting. If you leave that company, I am coming with you. I stared at Marcus across the table. You cannot do that, I said. Your contract is with the company, not with me. Lydia, he said, leaning forward. My contract has a clause. If my primary account manager leaves or is reassigned without my consent, I can terminate with 30 days notice. Blink. I had written that clause into his contract myself 2 years ago, as a protection for him. I never thought it would protect me. Marcus, I appreciate that. But I do not even know what I am doing yet. Yes, you do, he said simply. You are going to leave. You are going to start your own firm. And when you do, I am going to be your first client. I opened my mouth to argue. He held up a hand. Lydia, I have worked with a lot of people. Most of them see me as a paycheck. You see me as a person. You understand my business. You have saved me from bad decisions more than once. I do not care who your boss promotes. I care about results. And you get results. That lunch changed everything. Because suddenly leaving was not just possible. It was inevitable. And I had leverage. I went back to my office that afternoon with a plan forming in my mind. I could not just quit. That would trigger the non-compete. I needed to be pushed out. I needed Vincent to make it so unbearable that any reasonable person would leave. The thing was, Vincent was already doing that. He just did not know I was letting him. Over the next week, I watched as more of my responsibilities disappeared. Meetings I used to lead were reassigned. Projects I had started were handed to Myra. My name was quietly removed from email chains. And through it all I smiled. He nodded. I said things like, "Whatever you think is best." Vincent thought I was being cooperative. Professional. He had no idea I was building a case. Simone, my lawyer, told me to keep a log. Every time something changed. Every conversation. Every email. I filled a notebook with evidence. Dates, times, exact quotes. I recorded meetings on my phone when I could. I saved every dismissive comment Vincent made. Every time he cut me off in meetings. Every moment he praised Myra for work I had done. And I waited for the perfect moment. That moment came 3 weeks after the promotion announcement. Vincent called me into his office. He sat behind his massive desk, fingers steepled, looking at me like I was a problem he was trying to solve. "Lydia," he said, "we need to talk about your attitude." I sat down slowly. "My attitude?" "Yes," he said. "Several people have mentioned that you seem disengaged lately. Unfocused. I am concerned you are not adapting well to the new structure." I almost laughed. New structure. As if stealing my job and handing it to someone else was just a minor organizational shift. "I have been doing everything you asked," I said calmly. "I have been transitioning my accounts, training Myra, showing up every day." "Yes, but your energy is off," Vincent replied. "Clients are noticing. Myra mentioned that you have been short with her." "Have I?" Kept my voice neutral. "Me." Vincent sighed like I was exhausting him. "Lydia, I need to know you are committed to this team. If you are not happy here, maybe it is time to consider other options." There it was. Push. The suggestion that I should leave. I had been waiting for this. I looked at Vincent and let the silence stretch. Then I said, "I will think about it." That night I finalized everything. I called Simone and told her about the meeting. She said it was enough. Constructive dismissal. Clear as day. I drafted my resignation letter. 2 sentences. Professional. Cold. I scheduled it to send at 8:01 in the morning. Then I called Marcus. "Are you still serious about what you said?" "Yes." "Absolutely," he replied without hesitation. "Good," I said. "Because I am resigning tomorrow morning. And I am starting my own consulting firm. If you want to come with me, I need you to send your termination notice at the same time." "Consider it done," Marcus said. I could hear the smile in his voice. That night I barely slept. I kept running through the plan, checking for holes, making sure everything was airtight. At 6 in the morning I was already awake. Showered. Got dressed. Drove to the office. I was the first one there, which was not unusual. I had always been early. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The office was silent, peaceful, almost sad. I had spent 6 years here. Built my career. Learned so much. And now I was burning it all down. At 8:01 I hit send. My resignation email was simple. No emotion. No explanation. Just 2 sentences. Effective immediately. I am resigning from my position. Thank you for the opportunity. CC'd HR. I CC'd Vincent. I CC'd the entire leadership team. Then I stood up. I did not pack my desk. I did not say goodbye to anyone. I just picked up my bag, my laptop, and walked toward the elevator. I was halfway across the office when I heard Vincent's voice. Lydia. Lydia, wait. Turn. He was jogging toward me, his face red, his tie slightly askew. What is this? He demanded, waving his phone. What does this mean? It means I quit, I said simply. You cannot just quit, he sputtered. You have accounts. You have responsibilities. I had accounts, I corrected. You gave them to Myra. Remember. You need to give 2 weeks' notice, Vincent said, his voice rising now. People were starting to look. Actually, I do not, I replied calmly. My contract says I can resign immediately if working conditions become intolerable. And they have. Vincent's face went from red to purple. You are making a huge mistake. Maybe, I said. But it is mine to make. Then I turned and walked into the elevator. The doors closed on Vincent's shocked face. And I smiled. I was in the lobby when my phone rang. It was Marcus. It is done, he said. I just sent my termination notice. 30 days as agreed. But I made it very clear that I am following you. Thank you, I said, my voice tight with emotion. Do not thank me, Marcus replied. I am doing this because it is good business. You are the best at what you do, Lydia. I am not staying with a company that does not see that. I hung up and stood there in the lobby for a moment, letting it all sink in. I just quit my job. Walked away from 6 years of stability. Burned a bridge I could never rebuild. And I felt amazing. My phone started buzzing. Texts from coworkers. Missed calls from HR. An email from Vincent demanding I come back upstairs immediately. I ignored all of it. I walked out of that building into the September sunshine and I did not look back. The next 48 hours were chaos. Vincent called me 16 times. I did not answer. HR sent me emails threatening legal action if I did not return company property. I had already returned everything that mattered. My laptop. My access card. The coffee mug with the company logo. What I kept was mine. My notes. My strategies. My relationships. Things I had built, not things they had given me. Simone sent a formal letter to the company outlining my constructive dismissal claim and making it clear that any attempt to enforce the non-compete would be challenged in court. They backed down immediately. Probably because they knew they could not win. Meanwhile, I was building. I registered my consulting firm, Sterling Solutions. I set up a website. I reached out to my network. And within 72 hours, I had my first client. Marcus Okafor. Beacon Industries. $700,000 in annual revenue. The same account Vincent had just handed to Myra. She lasted 2 weeks before Marcus fired her. Said she did not understand his business. Said she was too focused on scripts and not enough on solutions. Said he wanted someone who actually listened. He wanted me. 1 month after I quit, Vincent called me. I almost did not answer. But curiosity got the better of me. Lydia, he said. His voice sounded tired. Defeated. We need to talk. I do not think we do, I replied. Please, he said. Just hear me out. I sighed. Fine. Talk. Beacon Industries terminated their contract, he said. 2 other clients followed them. They all said the same thing. They want to work with you. And kept my voice neutral. And I am asking you to come back, Vincent said. We can work something out. Better title. Better pay. You can even have Myra's role. I almost laughed. Vincent, you gave away my job. You spent months undermining me, dismissing me, making me feel like I was the problem. And now you want me back because you are losing money. I made a mistake, he admitted. I see that now. You made several mistakes, I said. But here is the thing. I do not need you anymore. Have my own firm. Have clients who value me. Have freedom. Why would I give that up to work for someone who clearly does not respect me? Silence. I wish you the best, Vincent, I said. But my answer is no. Hung up. And I meant it. 3 months after I quit, my firm had 6 clients. All of them had left Vincent's company to work with me. Annual revenue, $2.3 million. Hired 2 people. Both of them women who had been overlooked at their previous companies. We worked out of a small office downtown. Nothing fancy. But it was ours. I ran into Myra one day at a coffee shop. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. Lydia, she said quietly. Can I talk to you? I wanted to say no. But I nodded. We sat down at a corner table. I am sorry, Myra said. For everything. I did not realize what was happening until it was too late. What was happening? Yes. Vincent used me, she said. He told me I was ready for a leadership role. That you were holding me back. That I deserved recognition. I believed him. And now I am unemployed, Myra replied. Vincent let me go last month. Said I was not performing. But I know the truth. He used me to get rid of you. And when that backfired, he got rid of me. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. Myra, you were not ready for that role. Not because you are not smart, but because you skipped steps. You copied my work instead of learning how to do your own. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I know. And I am sorry. I finished my coffee. I hope you figure it out, I said. Then I left. 6 months after I quit, Vincent's company lost 40% of their client base. Most of them came to me. Some went to competitors. But all of them left for the same reason. They had trusted people, not a brand. And when those people were gone, so was the trust. I heard through the industry grapevine that Vincent was forced to step down. The board blamed him for the hemorrhaging revenue. His replacement was someone I used to work with. She called me the day she took over. Lydia, she said. I want to apologize. On behalf of the company. What happened to you was wrong. Thank you, I said. I appreciate that. I also want to offer you a consulting contract, she continued. We need help rebuilding some of the relationships we lost. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. I will send you my rates, I said. They were triple what I used to make as an employee. She agreed without hesitation. 1 year after I quit, Sterling Solutions had 12 employees and $5 million in annual revenue. We were growing faster than I ever imagined. I was working harder than I ever had. But the difference was I was working for myself. I set the culture. I made the rules. And I made damn sure that no one on my team ever felt the way I had felt in that glass conference room. One afternoon I got a message on social media. It was from a woman I did not know. She said she had heard my story through a mutual connection. She said she was going through something similar at her job. Being overlooked. Having her work stolen. Being told she was too sensitive. She asked for advice. I spent an hour on the phone with her. I told her what I wish someone had told me. Document everything. Know your worth. Build your leverage. And when the time comes, do not be afraid to walk away. Thank me. Said it gave her courage. 3 months later, she sent me another message. She had quit. Started her own thing. And she was thriving. That was when I realized something. My story was not just mine anymore. It was a blueprint. 2 years after I quit, I was invited to speak at a conference. The topic was leadership and resilience. Almost said no. Public speaking was not my thing. But something made me say yes. I stood on that stage in front of 300 people and I told them what happened. I told them about Vincent. About Myra. About the glass conference room and the promotion that was not mine. I told them about the silence. The documenting. The waiting. And I told them about the moment I walked out. The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. When I finished, the applause was deafening. Afterward, dozens of people came up to me. They told me their own stories. Stories of being overlooked, undermined, replaced. And they thanked me for saying out loud what they had been feeling in silence. That night I realized something important. Vincent thought he was choosing a winner when he promoted Myra. But he was not choosing anything. He was revealing who he was. And I was revealing who I was. He chose comfort. Chose courage. He chose optics. I chose integrity. And in the end, that was the difference. 3 years after I quit, Sterling Solutions was named one of the fastest growing consulting firms in the region. We had 20 employees. Offices in 2 cities. 8 million in annual revenue. I was 35 years old and I had built something real. Something that could not be taken away by someone else's insecurity or poor judgment. I thought about that glass conference room sometimes. About the moment Vincent said Myra's name and not mine. About the applause that felt like a betrayal. And I realized something. That moment was not the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was the best. Because it forced me to see the truth. I was never going to get what I deserved by waiting for someone else to give it to me. I had to take it. I had to build it. I had to prove it. And I did. I saw Vincent one more time about 3 years after everything happened. It was at an industry event. He was there with a much smaller team, looking older, grayer, like the weight of his mistakes had settled on his shoulders. He saw me across the room. I saw him see me. For a moment I thought he might come over. Apologize again. Try to make peace. But he did not. He just looked at me with something like regret in his eyes, then looked away. I did not feel angry. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt indifferent. He was a chapter in my story. But he was not the story. It was. People ask me sometimes if I would do it differently. If I would have stayed and fought instead of leaving. My answer is always the same. Well, because staying would have meant accepting their version of my worth. It would have meant letting someone else define my value. Leaving was the only way to define it myself. And yes, it was terrifying. Yes, there were nights I could not sleep, wondering if I had made a massive mistake. But I would rather bet on myself and fail than bet on someone else's approval and succeed. The lesson I learned from all of this is simple. Silence is where decisions are already made. If you are in a room and people are not looking at you, not including you, not considering you, that is not an accident. That is a choice. And you have a choice too. You can stay and hope things change. Or you can leave and change things yourself. Chose the latter. And it was the best decision I ever made. Today, Sterling Solutions is more than a business. It is a statement. A statement that says you do not have to accept being undervalued. That says your work matters. That says you can build something better. I am proud of what we have created. But I am more proud of who I became in the process. I became someone who does not wait for permission. Someone who does not shrink to make others comfortable. Someone who knows her worth and does not apologize for it. So here is what I want you to take from my story. If you are in a situation where you are being overlooked, undermined, or replaced, do not ignore it. Document it. Build your case. Know your worth. And when the time is right, do not be afraid to walk away. Because sometimes the best revenge is not confrontation. It is success. And sometimes the loudest statement you can make is silence followed by action. Vincent thought he was replacing me. But he was not. He was releasing me. And I ran with it. 3 years later I am thriving. My company is thriving. And the clients who mattered followed me out the door. Because in the end, people do not follow titles. They follow trust. And I built that trust one relationship at a time. So if you are watching this and you are in a glass conference room of your own, waiting for someone to say your name, remember this. You do not need their approval. You do not need their promotion. You just need your courage. And your timing. Because timing, as it turns out, is everything. Thanks so much for watching. More of my most gripping stories are already on your screen. Click one now and do not miss the best part. You will love it. See you in the next story.